Honk, 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 Sky Kids. Hello, everybody. How is everybody doing? Sorry, English not can I today. How's everybody doing? I am happy to be here yet another week. Yeah, I know. It's been not very long since we have returned with. Let me just be sure that you guys can hear some music. I want to hear music too. We have returned to weekly streams. That's Kai Silvos. Hello and welcome. Still your Zelda representing Lex Derp, saying honk honk, Chameleon Brad, Little Light Siren hanging out with us. But let's not forget our friends over here on TikTok. Hello TikTok. Natacha Conche. No hablo inglês. It's okay. Te amamos. I learned a little bit more Spanish just so I could speak to you today. Let's see who else. It's Sugar, Sunny Spiders on TikTok. Everybody sending you likes. Ooh, our guests will be happy because we already have like 3,000 likes on TikTok, and that's exciting. All right, you guys. Before we hop into the details, you guys know the drill. Follow us on all the social medias. We are everywhere because everybody should be receiving the good news of Sky. Everybody is entitled and are able to connect, to make friends, to feel special, and to feel loved. And so are you. You are loved and you are special. Thank you so much for being here with you guys. And don't forget, join us on Discord. Our Skycord is the place to be for you to make new connections, make friends, and you already know you have something in familiar. Everybody on our Discord loves Sky, and also to get the most recent news. It's a really good place for you to share your feedback about the new season, about up and coming events. Is a good place for you to report any issues that you find live. We are always there. We always have somebody with eyes open on Discord. So it's the best way, but if not, you guys are welcome on Instagram, TikTok, X, Twitter, whatever kids call it these days. I don't even know. That one platform, as well as Facebook. Before we move forward, I want to celebrate your life, you guys. If you are celebrating your birthday this week or the last week or next week, I just want to say that you guys are special, feel loved. Don't let nobody tell you otherwise. And I know sometimes we spent some lonely birthdays and it happens, or somebody who you really love is not able to be there to celebrate your life. But just know that here in Sky, we at TGC, really, we speak about you guys every single day, and we are so proud to have the best community in gaming, and you are part of it, and you are special, and you are loved. So, have any of you guys are any of you guys celebrating your birthdays this week? Zuyu, Uncle Tio, the server error again. We know, we are already investigating. We put unknown issues out. So apologies, guys. Let's just get the elephant out of the room. But we have people working on that right now. Actually, have a group of people investigating and trying to get things better for you guys as soon as we can. And okay, guys, little preface. I am not ready for this. Our guest is certainly not ready for this. But our guest is one of the most inspiring game designers I have ever met. During Skyfest, we were able to hang out and to talk for a longer period of time, and we shared experiences about playing games and what games mean to us and what games are meant to be and what TGC is trying to do. And it was a blast. Out of being an extremely talented game designer, Nicolas Oueijan is just one of the best, kindest human beings I have ever met, and I cannot wait to introduce him to you guys. But before we do, remember, look at the title of the chat. It's somewhere in here, somewhere up there on TikTok. I don't know, but this will be a chat about Season of Radiance. And if you guys are not excited or maybe haven't had the chance of fully exploring the season just yet, let's take a quick look at the trailer. I hope you guys like it. Nick Oueijan. Welcome. I'm so happy to have you here. And you are live, my friend. And thank you so much for this season. It has been incredible so far. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm a little nervous to talk to everyone. Um, yeah, I'm like reading the chat. Everybody's so, uh, you know, everybody in the side community is so great. So I'm a little nervous, but I am looking forward to talking to everybody, and I'm just grateful to be able to be a part of this awesome adventure with you all.
That's awesome. And just wait, you're soon gonna see in chat a wave, a blast of colorful hearts. You guys in chat, please make sure to make Nick feel welcome and just put out all the colorful hearts that you guys can. It doesn't matter the color blue, yellow, red, green, purple, black, or white. Just be sure to send your love. TikTok is already sending you, Nick, about 10,000 likes to welcome
Oh
you
my
to this
gosh.
stream. The power of social media. Nick, thank you for Season of Radiance. People are really, really happy and excited about that. Can you give us a quick introduction to the Season of Radiance and what makes it unique compared to previous seasons in Sky?
Yeah, so there's a lot of things that I think make Season of Radiance unique compared to other ones. So, we have the dye workshop. So that's a new, fun, exciting thing that I'm sure a lot of people have already begun experimenting with. So with the dye workshop comes the ability to dye, parts of your outfit, which has been requested for a really long time, and also something that I personally wanted because I've been wearing the same thing for a very long time. I don't know if others can relate, but I've been wearing this thing for a long time. Um, and I love it so much, but I also want to kind of like invest more in it. So that was anyway, um, kind of we'll talk about this later. But yeah,
So,
so there's the diamond stuff. There's a whole bunch of new gameplay as well. I think this is the first time in a long time where we've actually added new gameplay that will happen all throughout the world. It'll just kind of slowly unfold as the season goes on. Um, so yeah, Season of Radiance brings with it new ways to play the game, new ways to express yourself, and a whole bunch of stuff to look forward to. If you haven't already tried it, I would give it a try right now. The first quest in Season of Radiance is available, and I think it's only going to get better. So I hope you enjoy.
more colors, the better it gets, right? People are already
Yeah.
saying here in chat that they cannot wait for the black dye. I think we have some potential goth Sky Kids ready to get into those darker moods. You mentioned,
Awesome.
Nick, that we pretty much heard a lot of requests from the community to be able to dye their outfits. Was that the inspiration for the theme of the season? What was the one inspiration that carried you to push the season forward?
Yeah, so I actually, so personally, like I said, I had the same outfit that I wore for a long time, and I wanted to kind of elevate it a little bit, wanted to further customize it. And I felt like that was something that we should have been able to do. And again, we heard from players as well that this was something that they were looking for. So that was one of the big things that one of the big motivations. The other big motivation as well was people who've been playing Sky, especially for a long time, are were telling us that they were hoping to find kind of new different ways to engage with the world if they wanted, and so we were trying to kind of do multiple things at the same time there. And I think that we did it. We wanted to add that new layer without also disturbing what was originally there. That can be really I'm gonna speak very plainly with everybody.
Please do.
As from game designer to people playing the game, it can be really difficult to balance a whole bunch of stuff. When you have something that's really good, like let's say you got a good chocolate cake, everybody's like, "Oh man, it'd be great with that chocolate cake is like some banana or some strawberry or some vanilla." Everybody has their own idea, and they're all probably really good, but to make that chocolate cake work as it is on its own and then add something onto it is very difficult. But
Hmm.
we wanted to do that because I think it's been about time. And hopefully we did a good job. You all will let us know how we did. So there were a lot of motivations. Those were some of the main ones.
I love, Nick, how you are able to put out like very difficult game designing concepts in something that is so digestible. And you guys, if you are familiarized with Nick's face, it's because you probably watched his videos during Skyfest in the cinema and also through the running course, the explanation course that we did through the history of Sky Gallery or art gallery. But yeah, yeah, I love how you're able to pinpoint difficult concepts in such a simple manner. It's really cool. I have here on the screen a bunch of spirits that our players are probably very familiar with, especially our veterans and hardcore players, right? So how does Season of Radiance really fit into the larger narrative of Sky? It's so cool to be able to see these spirits coming back, right? Like I think it's the first time that we're able to have a callback of old spirits like this.
Yeah. So a couple things there. One was, for a really long time in Sky, we've done this thing where we kind of expand outward. And I think that's really good, because it allows us to kind of carve new territory, so to speak, and try things out that we haven't before. That's really awesome. The other thing, though, that can happen when you do that so much is that you can create like a really shallow pool, right? It becomes really wide, but it's not that deep. And so we were looking, when we were first starting this whole process, like, if we want to make some of the spirits in Sky feel, you know, more developed, like actual complex people like ourselves, that we can relate to and empathize with more. Where might we start? And so we were looking at kind of our wonderful ensemble of spirits that we have in the game, and some of our earlier spirits were realizing, like, oh man, we really didn't do much back then to let people in on what was going on. Back then it was very simple. It was like, here's some spirits and here they are in the world, and that's it. We didn't have nearly as much as we did now. So we thought this was a good opportunity to look like with a magnifying glass, like we have this whole ensemble of spirits, this whole cast of characters in this wonderful world that we're exploring together, and then just take a look at a few of them and be like, what are their lives like a little bit more? What are their desires? And so that's kind of how we got to where we got with these spirits. So hopefully, veteran players who are able to experience meeting these spirits for the first time will also get some joy out of learning a little bit more about them this time.
And I love that we're doing this, right? Because at the end of the day, we have so many seasons and we get attached to these spirits, right? We spend so long, we spent like months with these spirits, and being able to see them again and interact with them in a different way is really magical. It's touching, right? And I love how we're bringing back like the spirits to the daily quests just to get to know them a little bit better, but having a full season dedicated to these old folks, if you will, is really rewarding, right? I think our chat, our fans and players really appreciate it. Chat, how do you guys like finding those spirits again? Let us know here real quick so we can maybe, get myself happy at least, but definitely get Nick to smile here in our stream. And if you just joined, you guys, this is a chat about Season of Radiance with senior designer Nick O, who's also the lead designer for this season. And we will be flashing you guys some concept arts. Right now, we are showing, let me get back to this. And let's see here real quickly. Just give me 1 second. Here we go. Right now, we are showing the plants. And how was, Nick? I know we didn't discuss about this before, but the idea of using these plants in a different way. We already have the dark plants that we have to burn the darkness out of, right? But was it interesting or was it difficult to bring these new plants to the season?
Yeah, so we actually spent so much time during our concepting period focusing on, how would we get this colored light from the world. A lot of, to put it plainly, a lot of games where you are obtaining resources from the world, you do so in kind of a destructive manner. it's like extractive, like, oh, there's a tree and then you cut the tree down, or like there's something in the ground and you dig the ground up. And it, there's this image that I had of like a huge excavator like covered in like coal and just going to town digging away at the earth and just scarring it up. And that's really not what we wanted acquiring colored light to be like. And so we were trying to understand a way that the colored light could exist in the world and have it respect both this kind of light and dark duality that exists in sky. There's this ecosystem where everything is kind of everything has its own niche, right? And so looking at all of that and saying, well, if the player is going to engage with this world to obtain something, how might they engage with it without doing so in a real kind of extractive kind of way? And so the plants kind of conceptually at least evolved from that point. And I think we got them to a place that I'm happy with, because it's, again, like with the spirits, about digging deeper into something. Some of our earliest concept art for Sky, if you look at it, actually had this kind of vine-like darkness wrapping and encroaching on everything. I think we particularly had some concept early on about some of the bells in Daylight Prairie. And so we wanted to dig deeper into kind of the nature and the evolution of these dark plants, kind of fulfill some of our earlier ambitions with what we wanted those to be like, while at the same time creating something that was not extractive in the world. And
that's awesome. So like ideas
yeah.
are never thrown out, right? Like an idea that you have, you just put that on a little drawer, and when time comes, you can just bring it right back up and make it better than you even conceptualized it before, right?
Totally.
Nick, there is a question here from TikTok. Moony Sky says, why can't some clothes be dyed? But maybe we can address that question too, but it brings me to another point. What were some of the biggest technical challenges that we had to go through when creating this season?
Yeah, so thank you for the question. The technical challenge one, I'm happy to answer, and also the why can't I just dye everything? So obviously we all want to express ourselves. That was really important. The other thing that we wanted to ensure that we did was protected the visual integrity of this wonderful world that we all love being a part of because of its beauty, right? One of the problems that we had when we've kind of introduced something that didn't have these intentionalities built into it. For example, if there were folks around here when we first implemented message boats or shared memories and that sort of thing, if we're not very careful about it, a lot of times these kinds of things can result in this like disorganization or lack of cohesion in the world. So that's something that we wanted to preserve, and we also wanted to preserve like the integrity of a lot of these things that we've created. And so we spent a lot of time. This is actually probably the thing we spent the most time on. It was like the dark plants and the dyeability of these different clothes and how that might manifest, to make sure that we honored what the original pieces were like, because we have sentimental value to those as well. And also they're beautiful on their own, while at the same time having this dyeability aspect. As far as the technical challenges, we're having a whole bunch of things this time. The dark plants that appear in the world are on a kind of rotation where they're not always in the same place all the time. We hadn't really done something like this before, so that was something we needed to work out, and was very difficult. Likewise, how do we organize this huge backlog of items that we can potentially be dyed, and where they might be dyed, and how can we do so in a way that will both look good and play well? Those were all really hard technical challenges, and we were lucky with this season. A lot of folks on the team, are awesome engineers, front end, back end, on the UI side. Everybody worked really, really hard, and I'm really proud of what they worked on. Hopefully you are as well. And if you're not, I would love to hear your feedback.
And I love that you're bringing up the whole team, Nick, because to make a season like that, it's not just a designer coming up with ideas and putting everything down. There is a team around it, right? And this time around, we did have new mechanics, as you said, right, with the dying and needing to teach people a new mechanic, especially in a game like Sky. We're going to 6 years. It's not as simple. It's not as easy. We have a new area. We have the workshop, and finding the perfect place for that workshop is also challenging, right? So how did the team together approached the additions of these things?
That's a really good question. So, like, why the workshop and why there? So, one of the things that when we did, revival was we had this hope for these workshops that were implemented and that we would expand upon them and they would feel kind of like a vibrant place that you would desire to go to. And a lot of us realizing like we actually don't go there that often, we don't utilize them because we just go to the closets,
Mhm.
and there are so many closets around the world. That's totally fine, and that's just the preferable way. But what we felt like was we had all of this really wonderful stuff here that we kind of all wanted to be a part of, want ourselves to be immersed in, but just wasn't practical. And after a lot of massaging, I think what we've ended up with is hopefully a utilization of those existing workshops that kind of elevates them and makes them, uh, useful. And because ultimately, you're not going to use something unless it's useful. And I also think that wound up humanizing the whole dye process as well. We had some early versions where we talked like, oh, when it comes to dying, how would that process go? And it can be very easy to make that feel very like impersonal or transactional, like, oh, you just like put that on the table and then you pick that up off the shelf and then you're good to go. There's no like hands involved, and we really wanted to make it feel like dying was the result of kind of interpersonal actions that are happening, and having it be situated alongside all of the other workshops helps with that feeling, because you're not just there with like one other spirit or maybe no other spirits. There's actually a whole bunch around you and everybody's playing a part. And so hopefully, this little area, this space around the dye workshop can really feel vibrant and alive. That was our hope.
And it really does. I'm already seeing fan art of people having actions within the workshop. It's always refreshing, right? To have a new area to go to. Uh, Nick, earlier in our conversation, you did mention that, about the inspiration and wanting change, and that's something that the community has been requested for so long. But were there any specific player feedback or community contributions altogether that influenced the development of the season?
Well, I mean, one thing is fan art is I'm a huge fan of fan art. And a lot of the times when we make something, somebody will share something and it inspires me in a way that I hadn't understood before. Somebody might see something and people will always say like, oh, I wish this looked like this, or I wish this looked that way, or whatever. I think were it not for our wonderful community artists sharing their ideas and ambitions for how things could be, we might have created a dying process, but maybe not something that was so nuanced. It's difficult for me to like think of specific, because really there's so much influence that has happened. I find between the patch that we have now and in the coming patches that there will also be like tune adjustments and that sort of thing to how things are presented, and all of that comes from feedback from folks of our community. So hopefully that pays off
It does.
for everyone.
It certainly does. I mean, just look at all the beautiful things that people are already doing, right? Like I think there's nothing more reassuring to a designer like yourself as to see people getting the work that you and your team have put so much focus into, and making it their own, right? Like when we have the Skytober, for example, that is just like a month dedicated to people creating and building upon what you guys have built, it has to feel rewarding, right? So I definitely believe that you were able to achieve what you were aiming for with this.
Thank you. I hope.
Go ahead, go ahead.
I just said I hope so.
Oh, no so. One thing too, Nick, and you can also build up a little bit this upcoming question, and not just to the season, but as a game designer in general, right? But Sky has always been a place about self-expression, right? At the end of the day, all we try to do is find different ways that people can express themselves, that they can be themselves, or they can be whatever they want to portray to the world, right? That's what expression is. How does this season enhance the way players can express themselves? And in a segue, a big question: as a game designer to a game like Sky, how much self-expression is in the back of your mind as you start creating any season?
Oh, completely. I mean, I think the reason that we play games, I think, is not just because we want to receive something that was made by somebody else and then just kind of receive it. We want to like interact with it. There's this feedback loop that happens between us and the world that has been created for us. And so the richness of that feedback, that back and forth, is a big result of your ability to express yourself. You know, if the game lets you move in a certain way, or lets you adorn yourself with clothing a certain way that you would like, that helps you feel, that helps that feedback loop become all the more rich. And one of the things that we were hoping to do as well was not only allow you the flexibility to customize, you know, how you looked, but also give you kind of layers to that. So the dyeing system as it currently works, there's you can, if you just want, let's say, put red into a certain area on one of your items, let's say your cape. But you can also, if you want, have that like second layer of tuning by adding another like tint color on top of that. So if I have red and then I have a little bit of yellow, you know, I can tint it a little bit more on the yellowish side. Or if I wanted red and then tint it red, maybe I can have that be a deeper red. So that way it isn't just like, you know, here are the 4 different things that you can do, right, and you just have that. No, there's some flexibility, and you really get to choose what it is that you want.
I love the analogy that you used earlier in our stream, right? It was about the flavors of cake, right? Because I can like chocolate, you can like chocolate, but I like mint on my chocolate. You like milk chocolate. Somebody else likes, you know, a dark chocolate with fruit, right? Dried fruit. So that's the nuance of self-expression that the season brings. I think it's just being very open for people to really be who they want to be, or to portray, represent themselves in whichever way that they would like to do. Before we move on, Nick, chat, any questions? Is there anything that you'd like to ask about season of Radiance to Nick, about game developing for Sky? Really, this is a really good opportunity, and I want to open the floor to any of you guys here. In the meanwhile, thank you so much, Ash, for sharing with us some of this beautiful concept art. I highly appreciate you sending that to us. And yeah, everybody loves some concept art, and we do too. All right, Nick, as people start collecting their questions to you, can you share some insights in the new cosmetic emotes or items that were introduced with the season? Well, like, personally, what is your favorite cosmetic so far, for example?
Yeah, honestly, I think not just because, you know, it's the season and we worked on it, but I think the cosmetics this season are like S tier. I think there's a lot of really good ones. I really like the pleated pants because I sew, and I've been meaning to make myself a pair of pleated pants, and they were going to be kind of more form-fitting, but now I think I might try to make myself a pair of those kind of baggier pleated pants because they look so awesome. I love the mask that the Radiance Guide wears. I think that's like one of my favorite masks in the entire game. And the cartwheel is an amazing emote. Like, so like I said, I think so much of what we made was excellent, but those are the ones that I like a lot.
That's awesome. There is a quick question here, which I could have read it out loud, but things moved outside and it disappeared. On your own character, Nick, what was the very first thing that you chose to dye with the season launch? And people are asking mine too. I just did my regular cape, which is, I believe it's the cape from Little Prince, Le Petit Prince, and I just I think that's the one. I need to go back and check. But I was going for like a Crabular, a Dracula sort of cape, so it's all black, and then I just put like a red in the back and a little bit of yellow just to get like that orange flake, and it's great. It's great. How about you, Nick?
Yeah, no, so like I said, I've been wearing this time, and I really like the green cape, which is the one that I normally wear, and so I'm actually like saving up my dye so that I can dye the inside. So anyway, that's what I'm holding out for right now.
Sounds good. Another question now from Echo on YouTube, and feel free to say if we haven't thought about this yet. I mean, it's still time to come, but they're saying they're asking, would dye be part of Days of Color? It feels like a great opportunity, and it does. It does. Sounds like a good opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, we wanted to make the inclusion of everything that came with Season of Radiance, not just something that worked like once and then we wouldn't touch again. So yeah, we've also talked about dye in Days of Color as well. Really, I think the best thing for everybody would be for us to be able to use the things that we've created, and like I said, kind of make them richer and kind of connect them together. So that's what our hope is moving forward.
Oh, here's a good question from Steal Your Zelda on Twitch. Was the season intentionally planned for a long time? I noticed that there's butterflies above the shop and a darkness plant behind the aviary. I've been playing since the end of Revival, so I'm curious if it had been in development for a long time, or for as long as that.
Yeah, so what's funny is sometimes things are planned in a really long time, and then sometimes you lay seeds for things that later on you may come to and then find like a beautiful tree with some fruit on it for you. So a lot of these things, for example, the pots with the butterflies that are on top of the dye workshop, that's an example of one of those things that was a seed that we planted a long time ago. And then when we were doing Radiance, we were like, oh, wait, here's a jumping off point. This is where we can kind of begin to tap into stuff and expand off from. Likewise, there was at one point, if you're in the beta, you might remember, there was an enormous dark plant in that kind of cloud area that is currently behind the shop. And that was just like an expressive experiment to see how we might kind of push the boundary a little bit. And so like both of those seeds did wind up becoming these trees that became like a core part of this, to like make this analogy even like more strange, this part of like Radiance, this Radiance landscape that we're a part of. So yeah, it's both about like planning for the future, yes, but then also anticipating things that you might not know. Maybe there's going to be more time in the future. Maybe something will change that allows you to do things that you couldn't do before. That's just the nature of not just game development, but also, you know, creative work in general. Painter will collect different kinds of paints. Maybe they only need a little bit of that green paint right now, but maybe they'll decide they're gonna, you know, paint an enormous prairie or like a single leaf up close and cover the whole canvas in green. That paint that they bought a long time ago now suddenly comes in handy. That's kind of how I think of the concepts and designs.
That's a great idea, and to be honest, I think the same work with collectors, because every time I want to pick a new manga, my wife says, do you need another manga? Are you gonna read this? No, but it's good to have it. If I have time, I'll get it, you know. So perfect. Zuyu, can I taste the dye? Please don't. Let's be safe here, but I'm sure it tastes great. But please don't. Let's not go there. Let's see if there are any other questions. If not, we shall continue. Nick, we spoke about self-expression right? Which is one of the main elements of Sky, really. But another main staple of the game is to empower players to connect and create stories together. How do you think Season of Radiance empowers that staple of Sky?
Yeah, so one thing that I felt very strongly on, our team felt very strongly on, was when we add to this chocolate cake, right, that we do so in a way that helps people appreciate what's kind of been there all along. We wanted ourselves, when we played the game, to experience it and be like, oh man, here's a location. I normally just completely ignore this, but today for some reason now this is special, and because of that spontaneity, then that means that I can share a moment with somebody else. Maybe I'm holding hands with them, maybe it's a stranger, but there's a wonderful reliability to the things that don't change, right? Like the locations of candles that we know are always going to be there. That's such a core part of kind of doing candle runs and just what it means to play Sky. That's wonderful. But to add on top of that stable bed some sort of spontaneity and like moments for unpredictable moments between players, the hope was that this world can feel more alive, and that we'll actually be spending time in places that we might not have never spent time before. So hopefully that is a kind of fertile ground for some of these interpersonal experiences to happen. That's the hope.
Awesome. An interesting question here from Frost Nova, and then I promise, Nick, we will go back to our own questions. We have to finish this by 5 o'clock, you guys, so we will try to keep things concise. But I think it's pretty much on what we discussed in the past about teamwork altogether. But what goes about creating the storyline in tandem with the arts, the outfits, and the setting?
Yeah, so we had a we had one representative, at least one, from every discipline that was going to be working on this. And we kind of made a group, and we were like, all right, we're Team Radiance. Let's try to, unravel what Radiance will eventually become. How do we define all of this stuff? And I think the nice thing about that is, when you have so many different people that come from so many different backgrounds and experiences, everybody is talking about something that others might not necessarily have seen, but is equally important. And so we were able to do that. And I think what happens in those early stages is you have a lot of really good ideas. It's like, oh, we could do this. Oh yeah, we can do that. We can also do this other thing. And you kind of don't want to let any of them go, because they could all be wonderful, successful things on their own. The challenge comes from finding like understanding each one of these things a little bit even more. Like, oh, let me turn it over. What's on this side? Is there something else over here? What if I hold it up? Until you eventually see a connection between that thing that you like so much and this other thing that you also like so much, and then they can come together and merge. I think we had a small group of multidisciplinary like people that represent all different aspects of life and Sky life and that sort of thing. And I think we were able to find that kind of harmony and union between the things that I mentioned so far, with the stories, with the plants, the mechanics, the desire to die stuff, the spirits, the shop. And we were all pretty stoked on it.
That's
Hope
awesome.
You are too.
That's awesome. Thank you. And another question about Sky. We spoke about self-expression. We spoke about making connections. But Sky, and I think that's really the pinnacle of anything that TGC does, which is trying to evoke a deep emotional connection to the experience, right? An emotional experience, if you will. How does Season of Radiance aim to touch players emotionally?
Yeah, I think as the season kind of continues to unfold, hopefully that that season's charm will begin to become kind of more obvious and apparent. We can be touched by so many different things. Sometimes it can be a very like a heavy burden that weighs on our heart that makes us think. Sometimes it can be a very simple moment, like a fleeting exchange between us and a random stranger. What we were hoping to do with Radiance was um, capture the the joy of color, like if you remember being a little kid and then just seeing a box of crayons or something and being like, oh my gosh, like there's so many opportunities, and then you create something and then somebody else sees that and goes, wow, that's amazing, that thing you created, here's the thing I created, and then you're like, wow, that's amazing. Like nobody loses anything in the situation where you elevate each other and help each other achieve the things that you both want to achieve. So the story, particularly between the spirits in Season of Radiance, I think is a endearing, hopefully, hopefully an endearing story about the joy of being joyful for each other, and just empowering each other to express ourselves. Those are really the key things that we were hoping to hit on with this season. And hopefully, as the season goes on, that'll be felt more.
Beautiful. And without any spoilers, okay? Without any spoilers. But you know the direction that the season is going to go. What moments, or maybe aspects is a better way to put it, of this season are you most excited for players to experience? Like you cannot wait for this to happen so people can actually...
Okay, I can't... I don't just want to say this to be like, oh, you should play Season of Radiance, but I actually think the last quest is a very, very memorable one. So I will just leave it at that, and I hope you can stick around to be a part of it, because I really do like that one.
There you go, you guys. Stick to the end. Stick to the end. Something promising is coming, chat. Get excited. Get excited. Yeah, I think we were addressing every single element of Sky, right? Self-expression, connectivity, or being able to connect with others, as well as having an emotional experience as being the tripod that holds Sky together. How does the theme of Radiance reflects in the values of Sky and the Sky community altogether?
Yeah, I mean, so normally coming up with a season name actually takes a long time. Normally we'll know the things that we're trying to do and kind of what story we want to tell, but then a name is actually something that comes late, because it's hard to find something that encapsulates all the things that we want to tell. But I mean, Radiance, Ash, our awesome concept artist, mentioned it, and everybody was like, oh man, that's the one right there. Because as I mentioned, the joy, there's like a confidence that you have when you wear something that makes you feel good. I know for me, I generally don't feel good in the clothes that I wear all the time, but every once in a while I'll wear something and I kind of like walk a little different. It makes me feel good. And that's kind of how Radiance, I'm hoping, winds up being for folks in Sky, a kind of celebration of your own self-expression and kind of confidence and happiness in that. And then also being happy for other people. It can be so easy a lot of the time to look at somebody else and think, oh man, they're like this and I wish I was like that, or I have this thing and they don't, so it's more tough for me. And because I think that way all the time, and try to tell myself or remind myself actually that I don't need to necessarily evaluate and judge myself based on the alleged accomplishments of those around me, that I can do something that I care about, and there's beauty in doing that very thing. And I actually should be proud and excited for the people around me for following their heart. So It's a bit of a tangent, but that's
That's awesome
emotionally
because
like where we're coming from here.
Nick, as you were developing this thought, Kitsu on our chat says, "Yes, I love my friends sharing their newly dyed outfits." So it's part of the shareable experience that we were just saying, right? They are happy for other people being happy with what they were able to come up with, and that's really cool. Wolf of Harmony also shares, I'm sure a lot of us have been running the same candle route. So I love having more incentive to explore more of the realms and go out of the beaten path. I love it. So yeah, yeah, really, really cool feedback live here for you, Nick. And I hope it's certainly appreciated. Uh,
It's totally appreciated. Sorry, I'll let you.
no, no, no,
Go
no,
on.
no. It's
Oh,
your
well, I
stream,
mean,
man.
what I was gonna say, I'm glad that you're feeling that way about the candle running. I think you know, there's so many chat. I'm like trying to read the chat, but there's so many wonderful questions and comments. I'm not ignoring. I'm like, there's so much going on. But there were some people who mentioned like, oh, are you worried also about like the grind aspect of it? And it was really important. And I mentioned this because it relates to this candle running thing that we're talking about right now. It was important for all of us to create something that was like opt-in, that you could opt in to do this if you wanted, and if you didn't want to do this thing, that the game wasn't necessarily going to make you feel like you needed to always like be present. And so uh and I'm hopeful that we achieved that. You know, if you don't want to participate in dying things, you don't have to. You can go about all of the wonderful activities that you normally do in Sky and don't need to engage with dying stuff. And if you want to die stuff, um, you can do so at your heart's content. Um, and we're kind of exploring some new territory here when it comes to, like, you know, the dark plants changing throughout the day, giving you multiple opportunities to collect dye, as opposed to before where it was just they might only appear once per day in one location, and then if you miss it, then oh my gosh, you've missed everything for the whole day. That's not what we wanted to create. Instead, wanted to create a system where, you know, you have the opportunity that's available to you, and if you want, you can engage with it, and there's nothing going to be chasing you. And if you don't want to, then you don't need to engage with it, and then that's okay too. That was our hope. So I'm hoping that that is felt.
Awesome. Hey Nick, almost coming up to an end of this awesome stream. Thank you so much for your time and just sharing so much of you as you do. It's really refreshing and exciting to hear. But is there a message or a specific feeling you hope players take away from, you know, their journey through Season of Radiance?
Well, so I've talked a lot about the kind of interpersonal message about feeling comfortable with yourself and being happy and joyful for other people when they do things. So um, I won't touch on that anymore here, even though that's a huge part of this season. I'm hoping that the other thing as well will be to not take for granted the things that um, happen around us that are there all of the time. um if you've ever like been really 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 hungry and then had like a fruit that you've had tons before, and then you have that fruit and then you go, wow, kind of like really have an appreciation for that. um Sky's world is kind of like that. It's this great big vast wonderful place that has so much, and we just haven't given ourselves the opportunity to really appreciate it. You know, there's blades of grass here on the ground, let's say, where I'm standing, that might not have been a place for me to engage in anything more meaningful or memorable. Hopefully, Radiance is like a canvas for us to paint those kind of experiences and moments on. Um, and again, these are our hopes and ambitions. I hope that you experience Radiance and they resonate true with you as well.
That's awesome. Thank you, Nick. Thank you so much for your time with us. Now, outside of Season of Radiance, right? What would you, Nick, game designer Nick, human Nick, person Nick, Sky Kid Nick, what would you like to share with our community? Is there any message or anything that you like to tell people as they, leave the stream and go play Sky?
Wow, that's a great question. Um, I will say thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to create these experiences for you. I'm not just I'm not just saying it. It really is such an honor to be in the position that I'm in. And full disclosure, I'm saying this because I hopefully think that this will be helpful to others. Um, I've been struggling with depression for a very long time, as many other people do, and it's been a difficult journey. And at times like this, I do feel grateful for the amount of love and appreciation there is in the world around me. So even though I have a hard time feeling it and recognizing it and acknowledging it, being present all of the time, um, this is a moment where I am feeling that connection with everybody. So thank you for helping me with that. And if you are having any sort of mental health situation, hopefully you can find some peaceful you know some peaceful solace in either this magical world of Sky that we've created or somewhere else. So thank you, everyone.
That was awesome. Chat, time to make that rain of colorful hearts to Nick. I told you guys he's a special one. I told you guys. Nick, I love you, man. I love you so much. Thank you for spending your time with us. This stream is coming to an end, Nick. So just say your final goodbye and we will wrap up soon.
It is such an honor. Thank you so much, everybody. You are wonderful and amazing. And I hope that you will allow me to continue to make experiences for you, and may we meet in Sky. Thank you so much.
I told you it was gonna be a special one, you guys. I told you it was gonna be a special one. But as Nick said, I hope you feel comfortable in your skin. I hope that you feel solace to whatever haunts and scares you. You know, the world out there can be difficult and can be tough and it can hurt. But I, again, following what Nick just said, I do hope that the lots of time or the little time that you spend in Sky, we hope that it's worthwhile and that we bring joy to your hearts and a smile to your face and friends to your life, because that's really what matters. Thank you so much for being with us, guys. My name is Tio. I'll see you guys next week. People were saying here, and I want to make sure to address that, oh, but you guys are having issues. We are aware of the issues and we have people investigating as we speak, so just please bear with us, but we're very much working on it. With that said, folks, thank you so much for hanging out. I'll see you guys next week.